Hi everyone, it's Dee here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be making this baby dress. I made this for my daughter. She's 19 months old, and I'm going to take you through on how I made it. So to make this dress, it's pretty simple. We're going to start with the back panel. That our foundation chain is going to run from one shoulder to the other, and I'm going to be showing you how many inches, how wide you need your chain for different sizes, because this here was 9.5 inches wide. I'm not counting the shells that I added around the sleeves, so it was 9.5 inches wide. I'm going to place on the screen how many you need for different sizes for different ages. So yeah, from there you're going to follow the instructions and you can adjust as you like. Yeah, it's pretty simple, so let's get started. Before we do, the yarn I used is a light 3 yarn. It's called Baby Bernard Sports yarn, and that's what I'm going to be using. All right. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below and let me know what you think of this dress. And also don't forget to subscribe, and I thank you guys for staying tuned to my channel. I really appreciate your love and support. And that's enough talking for today, so let's get right into the video. It recommends a 4mm hook, but I'm going to be using a 3.75mm hook. It's also 280 grams, and this one skein was enough to make my baby's dress. So we're starting with a slip knot. Then you're going to insert your hook and you're going to chain 4. Then you're going to yarn over and skip 3 and make a double crochet in the 4th chain, and that's the first chain you made. Chain 3, then yarn over, insert your hook between the chain and the double crochet and make a double crochet like that. Chain 3, yarn over, go between the chain and the double crochet and make a double crochet. And by doing this, we are creating these loops which we're going to work into. So basically this is our foundation chain. Okay, chain 3, yarn over, go between the chain and the double crochet and place there a double crochet. I'm going to keep going, repeating the same pattern until I have enough chains or until I have enough loops for my foundation chain. Okay, so you're going to use the measurements that I showed earlier, and that's what you're going to go by, or you can make any adjustments as you please. So once you have enough loops for your foundation chain, you're going to chain 3, and then you're going to yarn over and place a double crochet between the previous chain and the double crochet you made. Place there a double crochet. The chain that we just made here is going to count as a stitch. Okay, and then you're going to yarn over, go in the next loop and place there 2 double crochets. Yarn over, go in the next loop, place there 2 double crochets. Yarn over, insert your hook in the next loop and make 2 double crochets, and you're going to repeat that until you get to the end of your loops, making 2 doubles into every loop. Alright, I have one loop left here and I'm going to place there 2 double crochets. And as you can see, we worked over the double crochets and not the chain. The chains are the ones that are making that little design at the bottom, as you can see. So for our next row, you're going to chain 3, which counts as a stitch, turn your work and make a double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Then you're going to place a double crochet between these 2 loops, these 2 stitches from previous row. Then you're going to yarn over and make a double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Make a double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Make a double crochet between the 2 double crochets from previous row, and you're going to repeat that until you get to the end. I'm at the end of my row and I have 2 stitches left. I'm going to yarn over and place a double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Yarn over and place a double crochet in the last stitch, which is a chain. And you should be having something like this. Okay. So for row 3, you're going to chain 3 and turn your work. Then we're going to make a double crochet on top of each and every stitch until we get to the end. So this first chain counts as a double crochet, like I said earlier. So you're simply going to yarn over and place a double crochet on top of this next double crochet. So it's ways to count the number of stitches you have after our second row, because you need to keep that count of stitches. Do not make any increases or decreases, okay? Just keep going, making 1 double crochet on top of every double crochet from previous row, and I'll meet you at the end of row 3. Remember not to skip this last stitch, which is a chain. Place there a double crochet to complete the row. So at the end of row 3, you should have the same number of stitches you had at row 2. Okay, so we're going to maintain those stitches. We're not making any increases or any decrease. Okay, so you're going to repeat row 3. So you're going to chain 3, which counts as a stitch, turn your work, yarn over, and you're going to make a double crochet on top of the next stitch. Oops. And a double crochet on top of the next, double crochet on top of the next double crochet, and you're going to repeat that until you get to the end. When you get to the end, chain 3, turn your work and repeat. I'm going to do the same, and once I have enough rows, I'll be back to show you how many I made. Okay, here is what I have: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. I have a total of 15 rows now. And once you have enough rows, you're going to pull through the yarn, and then you're going to cut the yarn and pull tight to make sure that it's secured. Okay, so we're now going to work, this is going to be our back panel, so we're now going to work on our front panel. To start the front panel, we're going to work from the the loops that we started with. So you're going to count 3 loops from both sides. Okay, and you're going, if you have a stitch marker, place the stitch markers, but I don't think you need them. You can easily see where the loops are. So you're going to get your yarn and make a slip knot. And what we're going to do now is make this shoulder portion of our dress. So attach your yarn, then you're going to chain up 3. In that same space, you're going to make a double crochet, yarn over and go in the next loop and make 2 double crochets, yarn over and go into the next loop and make 2 double crochets. So this is my 3rd loop. You may need to make more double crochets, like you may need to work in more loops depending on the size that you're making. All right, chain 3, turn your work, then you're going to yarn over and make a double crochet on top of the next double crochet, yarn over, make a double crochet between the next 2 double crochets, yarn over, make a double crochet on top of the next double crochet, make a double crochet on top of the next double crochet, and a double crochet between the next 2 double crochets, make a double crochet on top of the next stitch, and make your last stitch on top of the next stitch, which is a chain. Okay, place there your stitch. You should have something like this. Okay, for our next row, chain 3, turn your work, yarn over and make a double crochet on top of the next double crochet, and you're going to be making 1 double crochet on top of every stitch until you get to the end. So here I have a total of 8 stitches. I'm going to chain 3 and I'm going to repeat that for a total of 5 rows. Okay, so I'm going to make a total of 5 rows, then I'll be back to show you what to do next. Alright, so here I have my 5 rows completed. So once you're done with that, you're simply going to chain 1 and cut the yarn and pull it tight. Okay, so we're now going to do what we just finished doing on the other side, and we're going to do it on this other side as well, doing the exact same thing We're going to make 5 rows, and after that I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so make a slip knot. Then you're going to count 1, 2, 3, and you're going to insert your hook in that 3rd loop and attach your yarn. Chain 3, which counts as a stitch, and then repeat the same pattern we did on the other side. I'm done with my 5 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm now going to make another row. So chain 3, turn your work, and place 1 double crochet on top of every stitch. This is my last stitch right here. I'll place there a double crochet. Once you're done with that, you're going to count how many loops you have left here. For my case, I have a total of 11 loops here that I didn't work into. So we're going to make 11 loops for our front part. So chain 3, and you're going to insert your hook through the top part of the stitch and go through that last stitch as well. As you're seeing in the video, mine was a little bit hard, but I still managed to go through it. So insert your hook and make a double crochet, and that is going to count as my first loop. Chain 3, insert your hook between the previous double crochet and the chain and make a double crochet. Chain 3, insert your hook between the chain and the double crochet, and you're going to repeat that until you have as many loops as you need for the size that you're making. For my case, I only need 11, so I'm going to go ahead and make 11 loops, and then I'll be back to show you what to do next. Alright, here I have my 11 loops completed. The next thing we're going to do is attach this to the other side of the shoulder part that we made. So I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to place a double crochet on top of that very first stitch, double crochet on top of the next double crochet, and I'm going to make 1 double crochet on top of every double crochet until I get to the end of the row. This is my last stitch. Okay, so you should have something like this. Don't worry if it looks kind of small. It's gonna make sense once we make our next row. Okay. All right, to start our next row, we're going to chain up 3. It works as a stitch and our turning chain. So chain 3 and turn your work. And then you're going to make 1 double crochet on top of the next stitches that you have here. All right, this is the last stitch. So once you get to the loops, you're going to place the 2 double crochet in every loop. 2 double crochets, yarn over, insert your hook in the next loop and make 2 doubles. Yarn over, insert your hook in the next insert your hook in the next loop and make 2 double crochets. And you're going to repeat that in all the loops until you get to the very first stitch that you have on the other end. Here I've already worked in my last loop, so after that you're going to yarn over and make a double crochet on top of that first double crochet. Make a double crochet on top of the next double crochet, and you're going to repeat that until you get to the end of that row. Okay, my chain here is my last stitch, so I'm placing there a double crochet, and you should have something like this. Don't worry if your work is kind of curling up or not even at this point. It's going to match up with the back panel as we go. For our next row, you're going to chain 3 and turn your work. And then you're going to yarn over and make a double crochet on top of the next stitch. Double crochet on top of the next stitches. Just make 1 double crochet on top of the of every stitch. When you get to this point where the loops begin from, you're going to yarn over and you're going to first place a stitch between the first double crochet you have and between where the loops start from. As you can see, I hope that makes sense. And then you're going to make 1 double crochet on top of the next double crochet on top of the next double crochet, and then you're going to double crochet between the next 2 stitches. Okay, double crochet on top of the next stitch, double crochet on top of the next double crochet. You're going to double crochet between the next 2 stitches, double crochet on top of the next stitch, and that's what you're going to repeat. This is the same pattern we did for the back panel, like the second row for the back panel. We're doing the same thing for this part as well. And by doing this, we should be having the same number of stitches we have for the back panel. Alright, I'm going to keep repeating this until I get to the end of the row. Well, not exactly to the end of the row. The pattern changes once you get to where the loops start from. Because on the other side, you have to place a double crochet on top of every double crochet, and you're not placing any double crochet between the stitches like what I just did here. Okay, place a double crochet right there. Make sure not to skip that part, because if you do, then your stitches will not add up. So now I'm going to place one double crochet right here where the loops start, this space right here. I'm going to place there a double crochet. Make sure not to skip it. Then I'm going to place one double crochet on top of every double crochet from previous row until I get to the end. So before making your third row for the front panel, you're going to count your stitches and see if they add up with the second row of our back panel. Okay, so make sure that you have the same number of stitches before you go to the next row after this. So here I was counting my stitches to make sure that they add up very well, and then from here we're just going to continue making one double crochet on top of every stitch. Okay, so you can count the ones at the back panel as well. This is the second row of the back panel, so you're going to count those stitches as well and make sure that they add up. So I hope that makes sense. So let's head on to the next row. To start the next row, you're going to chain 3, then turn your work, and you're going to make one double crochet on top of every stitch. So every stitch gets a double crochet, and you're going to do that until you get to the end of the row. Okay, I'm going to repeat this until I get to the end. I'll be back to show you guys one more time. For our next row, you're going to chain up 3, turn your work, and you're going to make one double crochet on top of every stitch. Set your hook, make a double crochet, insert your hook in the next stitch, make a double crochet, and you're going to repeat that until you get to the end of the row. Then you'll chain 3 and you're going to repeat that same thing, making 1 double crochet on top of every stitch until you have a total of 15 rows, because that's the number of stitches, that's the number of rows I made for the back panel, and it's gonna be the same rows I make for my front panel as well. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat this until I have a total of 15 rows for my front panel, and I'll be counting that right from the shoulder part all the way down. So I'll be back once I have that completed. I'm back and I have completed my 15 rows for the front panel, and I'm starting to count from this point right here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So counting the back as well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So I have 15 rows for the back panel as well. My back panel measures 6.5 inches. And my front panel measures 6.5 inches, counting from the neck. I'm sorry, starting from the shoulder part. So now we're going to work on the bottom part of our dress. All right, let's continue. So what you're going to do is insert your hook between the chain and the double crochet of the other side of your dress. Then you're going to chain up 4, yarn over, and you're going to skip the next stitch and make a double crochet on top of the next, chain 1, skip a stitch, double crochet on top of the next double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, double crochet on top of the next double crochet, and you're going to repeat with this pattern until you get to the other side. So I'm right here on this other side, and before I proceed, I'm going to use the strand I had hanging here, and I'm going to use that to join the 2 sides together, as you're seeing in the video. Okay, so that part is joined, and now I'm going to continue making 1 chain, skip a stitch, then double crochet. Okay, so I'm going to skip this stitch here, and then I'll place a double crochet on top of this next one, like that. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double crochet on top of the next double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, double crochet on top of the next double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, make 1 double crochet on top of the next. Then you're going to repeat that until you get to the end of the row. I'm at the end of my row. I already chained 1, skipped the stitch, then chain 1, and you're going to slip stitch on top of the 3rd chain to join. Okay, this is what you should have. The armholes is still a bit big, but we'll get back to that once we're done with the bottom part. Okay. You're going to chain up 2, then you're going to yarn over, and in that chain 1 space you're going to make 3 double crochets, the chain 1 is going to count as a stitch here, so we have a total of 4 double crochets. Then yarn over into the next chain 1 space, you're going to make 4 double crochets, yarn over into the next chain 1 space, make 4 double crochets, and you're going to repeat making 4 double crochets in every chain 1 space until you get back to the end. Once you get to the end of the row, your work should be looking like so. Then you're going to slip stitch on top of the the chain that you have here. So slip stitch to join. For our next row, you're going to chain 2, and in that same space where the chain is coming out of, you're going to make a double crochet. So here the chain does not count as a stitch, so that's our first double crochet. In the next stitch, you're going to make 2 double crochets. In the next stitch, you're going to make 1 double crochet. Into the next stitch, you're going to make 2 double crochets, and you're going to keep alternating between 1 stitch and 2 stitches. Okay, there we have 1. Here we're going to make 2 double crochets in the same stitch. Into the next stitch, we're going to make 1 double crochet, yarn over, and into the next stitch you're going to be making 2 double crochets, yarn over, make 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and you're going to keep repeating that until you get to the end of the row. When you get to the end of the row, for me here I have 1 stitch left, and I'm going to place there 1 double crochet, and then I'm going to slip stitch on top of this first double crochet that I have, like that. Chain 2, and in that same space you're going to place there a double crochet, double crochet in the next stitch, double crochet into the next stitch, and you're going to keep making 1 double crochet on top of every stitch from previous row until you get back to the end, making 1 double crochet only on top of every stitch. At the end of the row, you're going to slip stitch to join. So insert your hook on top of the first stitch and slip stitch. Okay, for our 4th row, You're going to chain 2 and make a double crochet in that same stitch. Make a double crochet on top of the next double crochet, and you're going to keep repeating, making 1 double crochet on top of every stitch for this row as well. And this is the row that we're going to repeat until we have enough rows that we need. Okay, so I'm going to keep making 1 double crochet on top of every stitch until I get back to the end. Then I'm going to slip stitch on top of the first stitch that I have, and then I'm going to repeat. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do that, then I'll be back to show you guys how many rows I made. Okay, see you in a few. Here is what I have, and I love the look so far. And I have made a total of 25 rows. You can make as many rows as you like, but this is enough for my daughter. And as you've seen in the thumbnail, yeah, it fit her perfectly. So for my next row, which is going to be my last row, I'm going to be using this 4mm hook. And I'm using this hook because I couldn't find the hook that I started with. So you don't have to change your hook. You can keep using the one that you have, okay? Chain 3, which is going to count as a stitch. And then you're going to yarn over, and in that same stitch where the chain is coming out of, you're going to make 2 more double crochets all in that same space. Then you're going to chain 3, and then you're going to insert your hook between those 2 stitches and make a slip stitch like so. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, then make 3 more double crochets all in the same space. Okay, and you should have something like this. Then you're going to skip a stitch and into the next, skip 1 into the next, make a single crochet, yarn over, skip a stitch and make 3 double crochets into the next stitch. That's 1 double crochet, 2 and 3 double crochets. Then you're going to chain 3 and you're going to insert your hook between those 2 stitches and make a slip stitch. Okay, right here. So insert your hook and make a slip stitch. Yarn over, go back in that same stitch and make 3 double crochets. Skip a stitch, into the next, make a single crochet, yarn over, skip a stitch, and into the next you're going to make 3 double crochets. Make 3 doubles, chain 3 and make a slip stitch on top of that very last middle double crochet that you have, and then make 3 more double crochets in that same space. And that's what you're going to repeat. You're going to repeat that until you get to the end of the row. Okay, here I made it to the end of my row and I have 2 stitches left. I'm going to skip 1 and single crochet into the next, and then I'm going to insert my hook in this space right here and make a slip stitch. Chain 1, then cut off the yarn, leaving a long tail that you can weave in. And that's it for that part. Okay, so next we're going to work on the sleeves, and that's the last part for this project. They are a bit big, so we're going to make them a bit smaller. So I went ahead and worked on one sleeve, so we're going to work on the second one together. So you want this dress to be on the wrong side out because we're going to join here, and we don't want this seam to be on the outside of our dress. Okay, so you're going to insert your hook, make a slip knot, and here I'm just going to be joining 3 rows only, and that's about 1.5 inches. So chain 1 in that same space, make a single crochet, insert your hook into the next side rows, and you're going to place there 2 single crochets, and this is the 3rd row, and I'm going to place there single crochet, and that's the only 3 rows that I needed to join. Okay, and now this space is going to be enough for my daughter's arm. So now we need to flip this dress to the right side. I know I have all the strands hanging. I'm just going to weave them all in at once. All right, so now that that is done, we're going to start working on the design that's around the sleeve. This is my loop right here. I'm going to insert my hook, I'm going to work into this first space. Let me zoom in a little bit. You're going to chain 3, which is going to count as a stitch. Then you're going to yarn over and make 2 double crochets all in that same space. Like that. Chain 3. Then you're going to insert your hook in that space right there and make a slip stitch, yarn over. In that same space, you're going to make 3 more double crochets. Like that. Then you're going to skip this next side row, this here. You're going to skip it, and into the next, you're going to make a single crochet, yarn over, skip the next row, and then you're going to make a cluster right there, make 3 double crochets, chain 3, then make a slip stitch and make 3 more double crochets into that same space. Please make sure you're not making this too tight. Keep it as loose as possible. Skip the next row and single crochet into the next, yarn over, skip a row, and repeat the pattern.
Once you get to the end of the row, so I'm going to skip this next row here, and then I'm going to single crochet right there, and then into that next space I'm going to make a slip stitch, then chain one, get my scissors and cut the yarn. And I'm just going to weave in all those strands that I have hanging. So next we're going to make a chain. I'm going to double the yarn and I'm going to make a slip knot. Then I'm going to make a chain. You can make as, I don't know how long it's going to be, but I'm just going to make it long enough to go around my daughter's waist and to tie a bow. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do that, then I'll be back once I'm done. Alright, here I have it completed, and I'm going to get my darning needle and I'm going to thread it, and then I'm going to pull it through around this row that we made of mesh. Okay, so I'm going to start from the middle and I'll go in and out as I pull through the chain.
And here we are. Just trying to, pull it evenly. Okay, and this is the end result. Just going to tie this right here. And look at that. And for these strands, I'm just going to tie a few knots and then I'll just cut it off. And this marks the end of the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll find it useful. Please remember to subscribe and share this tutorial with all your crochet buddies, and let's be one big happy family, okay? So with that being said, thanks for watching. I'll see you all in my next tutorial. Let me know down below what you think of this video, and yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll be happy to answer you. I love this dress, guys. So cute. Okay, bye-bye.